Welcome to the Teachers to Tech podcast. I'm your host, Dean. This is the podcast where we tell you how you can grow your tech skills, whether you're starting from scratch or just want to go farther. You might be thinking about a new job, a whole new career, or just a new hobby. We'll have something for everyone, so keep listening. Welcome to this episode of Teachers to Tech. Today, I want to help you accelerate your learning and have a great time doing it. Some of you know that I've spent time in technical training, teaching software, robot programming, and robot repair. During that part of my career, I've had a lot of students come up and tell me, the book is fine, but I learn best hands-on. Well, I agree with that 100%. In fact, it's possible to know all the right things to say about a subject, but not really understand it. So here's a way to get deeper understanding, and that's kit building. Kit building does not just teach you the specific circuit that you make. It teaches you characteristics of components and how circuits are put together. Don't wait until you think you know how everything works to start building. The kits I'll feature today are meant to help you as a beginner. Just a quick disclaimer before we start. I'm not selling any of these products. I'm not receiving any goods or services from the individuals or the companies I mentioned. I have reached out to the proprietor of Side Toys once for technical advice on a circuit that he had posted, and I got a real helpful response, but that was my only contact there. There will be links to the products in the show notes, but they're not affiliate links. In other words, I'm not making money with this. I'm just bringing these to you because they may help you learn. All right, I'd like to start out with a company that's been in business for more than 50 years, a company called L&Co, and they make various electronic project kits and various instruments for electronic work, but I want to feature just one product they make. It's actually a line called Snap Circuits. Snap Circuits is a set of blocks with components inside that you snap into place on a board in different configurations to make the projects that they include in the instructions with the kit that you get. Now you can get various combinations in different kits. It's a little bit like buying a box of Legos that you can expand on. You can buy components to stretch out the abilities to make things with these sets as well. Let me tell you a little bit more about the background and the philosophy. So Snap Circuits are educational kits. They're designed by L&Co, and the idea is that children, students, and then those of us who just want to start with the basics can explore the fundamentals of electronics through a hands-on experience. So you're going to be snapping these together. You're going to see what each component is, understand a little bit about what it does, what happens when you put it together. And they start with some very, very basic circuits, and then you can work your way up by picking and choosing in the instructions to make things like radios and alarms. Now, I have some notes here that says this intuitive design encourages experimentation. What they mean is you will learn by intuition. You will say, I see that I've put this together and it caused this to happen. What if I unplug this piece and put this one in? You'll be able to draw your own conclusions, which is one of the best ways to learn when you're working hands-on. So that gives you what my notes here would say is, hey, that's a deeper understanding. Yeah, because you won't just be memorizing this part does this. If I put it in here, or if I put these together in a certain order, I get such and such a circuit, and that's all I know. You'll be able to play around, try things out, and in a safe way. The kits are safe. You're not going to be working with high voltages. You're not going to be working with heavy equipment. And so you can just enjoy, and by the way, put it all back in the box, put it back on the shelf when you're done. You've got detailed instructions in the manual for each project, but you're also able to experiment with things by just swapping out, or as I said, you might want to buy some components to expand and try out additional projects. These things have been around for a while. People have good reviews for these. And I recommend, if you want something that's not messy, isn't going to cost an arm and a leg, and where it's pretty hard to fail first time out, this is the way to go. So naturally, there will be a link in the show notes to get you to Snap Circuits by Elanco. I got just a bit of disappointment when I went back to research this next site. I'd been there years ago, visited again recently, but unfortunately, SciToys, that I'm going to tell you about, does not sell products anymore. You should still visit. Here's why. They have plenty of hands-on projects that you can do, and they're based on everyday items. Now, you're going to get out there and see that there's graded curriculum. Literally, there are links for different grade levels in elementary school. Please don't let that put you off. Read up on the projects, learn what they do, find some you want to try out for yourself. It's the touching, it's the doing that really creates the learning for you, and you're going to have to start at the basics. Now, you may absorb the basics more quickly than a younger person. You may connect them with things that you already know, but you still start from the ground up. So please visit this site. There is a lot to read out there as well that's very informative. Let me tell you a little bit about how they see themselves here. Just had this summary for you. SciToys is an online platform dedicated to providing educational projects that are going to stimulate curiosity and stimulate learning in science, technology, engineering, and math, so STEM. The website offers a wide range of experiments. All of them are designed to make science engaging and approachable. And for kids of all ages is the way it's phrased here. That means it's definitely for you as well as for myself. By focusing on hands-on learning experiences, which is what we're all about in this episode, SciToys helps you develop a genuine interest in STEM fields, maybe stuff you've never touched before, but you want to break into. This will lay the groundwork for anything that you want to explore in the future. It really does get you to the basics. The instructions on SciToys are very carefully selected, and they will meet educational standards. So even if this were to come into the classroom, teachers would be able to say, yeah, this covers in a responsible way and in a thorough way. Each plan comes with comprehensive instructions and a list of materials. So before you start, you have everything gathered together, you're ready to go. The website also includes other resources, and it has articles, and they are extensive, explaining some of the projects. You'll learn a lot along the way between the reading and actually the doing. So I recommend, even though they are not selling products anymore, that you get out there, assemble your own pieces for the projects that they recommend, and let them walk you through the projects. You'll be glad you did. And now, as they say in show business, for something completely different. Still kits, but these take a little bit different turn. These are not generalized kits. They are electronics kits, and they are designed for learning, but there's a bit of a twist here. These are both musical kits. One of them is called the Synth-A-Set, and the Synth-A-Set looks like a cassette case. So you have this feel of retro, and on top of that, it's a little bit of a retro product because it's a synthesizer that lets you adapt your own keyboard. Their example is using a set of bananas attached to the circuit. Bananas, I'm not kidding. If you don't believe me, then you can follow the link, get out there, and see what he's got in his pictures right in his banner at the top of the page. But you can add your own keyboard device to this little synthesizer. It just plays an octave, but there's a button you can hit and it'll go up an octave. So you got a kind of a 2-octave range on this thing. Now, it's a kit in the sense that you add on to it. You're going to use alligator clips to add on whatever you want to use as a keyboard. And I was literal about the banana thing, and you'll see an example of that. But other than that, the kit really is kind of pre-built. You've got a circuit board that you're just adding things onto, connecting them up with these alligator clips. The other thing that they have is a theremin kit. And if you're not familiar with a theremin, it was a device that was created a while back that would make unearthly sounds in science fiction. So you'd hear this kind of weird electronic sound that would warble and get higher and lower as a machine would power up, or as a spaceship, usually a flying saucer, would come closer to Earth. And if you're getting images of old Twilight Zone episodes, you're probably on the right track. This is something that you build, and you build it using a breadboard, a prototyping board where you'll punch your parts into preset holes that have extra connections off of them, and you can put components in between different items so they all connect up. You'll see what I mean, again, if you go out to the site. And one of the advantages of this kit is this is a very common way for prototyping. So you can put components together, pull them back apart as often as you want with a minimum of fussing with anything like solder. You're going to put everything on a board. It's all connected. When you don't want to use that anymore, you pull it back apart. It uses some standard style connecting that you would use if you were building other projects. So not only will you have some of that equipment, but you'll know how to use it already because of this. So those are a couple of good things to look at. Strictly related to music, though. There's nothing like radio, etc., but there are plenty of those out there. So check those out. They are pretty cool. I will tell you that they're a little pricier than other kits, but we're still talking about under $50. If you want something more general, I'd go for the Snap Circuits kit. You can get a Snap Circuits kit for about the price of one of the kits at Micro Kits. The difference is you'll be able to use the Snap Circuits to make a lot of different things at a lot of different times. On the other hand, once you've built whatever it is that you've gotten from Micro Kits, now you can play music on it until the bananas go brown and you have to make dessert out of them, right? All right, when you're ready to step up your game a bit, it might be time to learn to solder. You'll find if you go out to eBay, there are all kinds of little kits called solder practice kits. There'll be fun little circuits like electronic dice, or there's one that has LEDs underneath a plexiglass Christmas tree, and you can switch up the colors that the Christmas tree shows. All kinds of different little things like that out there that are fun. They're called solder practice kits because the idea is they're not real complicated builds, and gee, if you screw them up and you just can't fix it, you haven't tossed away a whole lot of money. Now, if you're going to do that, there is one place that I found that's kind of a general merchandise store on eBay, but does have a variety of these. Not necessarily recommending this eBay store above any others, except that you can find the items out there I'm talking about. And that's Spies or Spies. And it's spelled S-P-I-E-S, all capitals. So I'm not sure if that's a name or if that's referring to spy equipment, but since they sell household goods, I don't think so. But that's just one example. Just look for solder practice and you'll get plenty of things up. Now, if you're going to solder, you're going to need the right equipment. At least a solder pencil, some solder, maybe some flux, a stand to put that soldering iron on, some items to clean it with. And there are different sets out there that you can find. If you can swing it, I recommend getting a variable temperature soldering iron, although I went a lot of years without one myself. And you can go to some big box stores, including some of the big box lumber yards, and find a modest price little set of solder and soldering pencil together that you can get started with, as long as you know what you're doing. Now, it does take a little care to keep up a soldering iron tip. It's not hard to clean. The things you need you can find in a grocery store, literally. A sponge that you keep wet, and that copper pan cleaner that you can use to take off really stubborn things on your pans but won't scratch your pans. But the best thing to do, rather than just take this general advice from me, I'd like you to get out and watch a video whose link I have posted in the show notes from a company called iFixit. iFixit.com started out as a website where somebody could say, hey, I own such and such a refrigerator and I have problems with whatever it is, the ice maker, etc. can anybody help? And people would post their answers. Well, they expanded. They started looking for how can we fix things, or we have a right to repair, but gee, companies are making screws that people don't have drivers for. We can't get into their products. This isn't right. So they began making tool sets that have all the right bits and drivers that can open things up. They've become a big industry, and they're part of the right to repair movement. And if you've been following this podcast from the beginning, you've heard about that before, the right to repair movement. But iFixit.com has got an excellent video, everything you need to know to get you started with picking out some equipment and using it properly to do your soldering. Best if you practice on a few plain wires first, or on some of these solder practice kits, and you'll have these little gimmicky toys that you've made along the way that are kind of fun too. As long as we're on the subject of a general repair help site, iFixit.com is great for things like maybe repairing a kid's toy or an electronic device that you carry with you, things like that. But there's another one I want to tell you about, slightly off our usual topic, but it's a great place to know about, and that is repairclinic.com. I'm just going to reiterate my disclaimer that I do not get anything from these people. They don't even know I'm talking about them, which is one reason why I only pick people I can say good things about, because I don't want to surprise anybody, right? Anyway, repairclinic.com happens to be headquartered in my old hometown. And there were a couple of times when I'd have an appliance with a problem, and I'd Google that problem, and I'd find out detailed instructions for dealing with that were on their website. And all kinds of exploded diagrams for my appliance were there. I'd know exactly what part I needed to order based on the troubleshooting they taught me right there on their site, including through some videos. And I could order that. They ship very quickly. Now, it happened that I would have repairs that I would need a part for maybe same day. Hey, my dishwasher was damaged in a lightning strike near my house, and the control board went out. This is a true story. I need that control board. Yeah, we've got that in stock. And do you want us to ship it? Well, no, you're literally 3 miles from me at your giant warehouse. I'll be there. Yeah, it'll be at the front desk in 2 hours. And it was. Now, you don't have to live near them to get that kind of service. Of course, you'll rely on shipping. But it's amazing what you can learn out there. So if you want to have technical knowledge that applies to things in your home, that is a great place to start. So just another place to go out and look, get to know what they have to offer, what kinds of things you can learn there. Again, a little bit off our usual subject of computers and technology related to Internet of Things, etc., but well worth knowing about. All right, well, that's going to close me out for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you've heard about something that you're going to go out and try, because you're going to learn a lot, even with the simplest kit. And who knows, you get hooked into a new hobby, and before you know it, you know all kinds of things you didn't know before, and you were just trying to have some fun. I also hope that you've had fun listening to this podcast. I'm going to ask, as always, that if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Please tell somebody else about the podcast, and thank you for listening. That's all we have for today. This is Dean saying thanks for listening, and we hope to have you back with us next time on Teachers to Tech.